I have a six-figure job at the time. I was pregnant with my second, and it's just too overwhelming. And, wrap my head around all that stuff. And I'm very grateful because my husband's always been the person to push people to their best limits. I always live by that, taking one step at a time. And I feel like everybody has their time where their things are gonna fall into place. Just breathe.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to Be the Connection podcast, where we dive into stories of community, mentorship, and success. My mission is to bring you inspiring conversations, real insights, and the kind of value that helps you grow. So grab a seat, settle in, and let's get connected. All right, Be the Connection family, welcome back. Today we're diving into something near and dear to my heart, a really important part of making real estate deals happen. Please welcome Karoline Vasquez from Orlando, Florida. Karoline is a full-time transaction coordinator, and with over 50 deals completed, she's a real expert at what she does. Her special skill, making sure deals close smoothly, even when there are, as she says, bumps on the road. Karoline, it's wonderful to have you. Let's get connected.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to invite me to your podcast.
Absolutely. To start, could you share a little bit about how you first got involved in the world of real estate? What drew you to this industry?
I got into real estate was because my husband was a wholesaler at first, and he's like, "Because I don't mind doing the paperwork, but in our reality, I'd rather you do the paperwork." At the time, we were both substitute students, and Pace was bringing out the whole TC. Oh, you need a TC, and he's like, "Why not have a better partner than your wife?" At first, I was like, I have a six-figure job at the time. I think I just had, well, no, I was pregnant with my second, and it's just too overwhelming. I started joining Caleb Christopher's TCs with me every Saturday and seeing how that goes. And I would never miss a Saturday. When I first started, I was just like, okay, let's see where does it take me. And if I continue going, let's see, how far can I go? I'm sorry, I have my child with me.
It's okay. And that's the beauty about TCing is that you can have your babies with you too.
That's how I was introduced to being a transaction coordinator. It was just basically I need help with paperwork, and I'm very grateful because my husband's always been the person to push people to their best limits. And he's like, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I would want you to match what I do, to at least have a family business where we get to do this together. So that's how I got started.
And so how did you discover this specific path, and what made you realize this is what I want to do?
When I started seeing my husband get paid big checks, and he did maybe 2-3 hours of work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? And it's funny because it brought me like a flashback as to my dad. My dad is a truck driver, and he said, I remember seeing a check on the table, and I was like, $21,000. What is this for? And he goes, well, this is what happens when you work for yourself, and he goes, this is just one load. And at the time, that was back in like 2016 or so, when the economy was not that bad and the truck driving people were not that bad. So I was just like, and then when I saw my husband and he got a check, I think his first check was like $10,000 for a land deal. I'm like, what did you do? So it's like, you get this amount of money for very little time. And I'm busting my butt at a W-2 trying to do 40 plus hours. And I was getting like $1,000 checks. I'm like, that doesn't make no sense.
Yes.
So that's what also intrigued me into, getting into the space.
And so I know you mentioned your dad. And so were there any other people, maybe mentors or someone you looked up to help guide you and inspire you to where you are right now in real estate?
My dad's side, they came from Ecuador. I think that in the work ethics comes from like them, where it's just like, I need to work hard to get what I want, right? My aunt actually owns her own cleaning business, so she actually left her job. She was actually working multiple jobs, and she's like, why am I giving my time to someone else when I can do the same thing for myself? Now what she had was a admin type of position for her job, and she quit her jobs, and she started her own cleaning business, and now she's really big to the point where she had to hire out, and it's amazing to see, right?
Yes.
And the same thing with my dad. Like, I get to see those people who start their business really small to they're like boom now, So I think that's a part that came to me. And then also having my husband, my husband doesn't have didn't have any real estate background. He was just more, I'm gonna prove to you that this works. He did it and came back with checks,
Yes.
and it's amazing. I'm more of the not really risk tolerance, where it's like it's really low, where he's just
Yes.
like, I need you to buckle down because I'm about to take this big leap.
Especially for visionaries, our husbands, they go all out and we're like, "Oh, okay." So, for listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain in your own words what a transaction coordinator does and why it's so important for a smooth real estate deal?
Transaction coordinator are basically managing timelines, the paperwork, verifying if everything is correct, misspelling or checking HUDs. It's so much moving parts, even if it's just a regular cash transaction. So when you're doing cash transactions, yeah, you might not need a TC, but you always want to get the second pair of eyes, because you never know what you might not miss. And that's where I feel like we're so vital, where we're needed. Let's just say, for an example, you come across an investor who's doing, I don't know, 50 transactions a month, right? Do you honestly think they're checking every single document, every single email that's coming in? Without like help, you're basically, if you want to grow, you want to hire someone who's going to pertain to that. That's their field. That's where their A players, their rock stars at. And then you come to the creative world, which is a whole different other world, and you have more pieces to put together. Puzzles, you have deals that can go from being under contract to boom, it's about to, not close. And then it's just like things like that, where you're like either trying to save the deal or you're trying to save the seller from not canceling the contract. And it's a lot, so I think that's where important that you have us to make sure that the deal doesn't go south, or you have it all set in stone.
Yes. And so you've handled over 50, plus, probably at this point, 100 plus, right? Can you share a story about a particular rewarding closing that you managed? What made it special for you and the people involved?
When you start to realize that you do these transactions, you are either helping someone who's probably in a bad situation. You have your sellers who might not know what they're signing. They're just in desperate need to sell. And when you're there to help them and guide them and show them that it's not just paperwork they're signing, but at that very moment you're helping them and understand the process of it, makes me happy. I always got that. Thank you for, for guiding me. Thank you for, showing me that, this can be done, or whatever the case might be, and that's what makes me continue going, because it's like I come from a family that I didn't at the time, didn't know that we were going through foreclosure. And as a kid, you don't even realize what they're going through until you grow up and you're like, why did we sell our house? That's the reason why I put what I do to my art, is because at the end of
Yes.
the day, I didn't get that help.
Yeah.
So, and then to this day, it's funny because I'm like, I just want to buy my house, the house that my parents built, because it was a house that we built from bottom up. I can't believe we lost it to whatever the case might, whatever happened at the time. So, I think that's the reason why I take what I do to the full extent, because it comes from somewhere we never expected it to.
And so you work with many different people, right? Agents, buyers, sellers, lenders. How do you build good relationships and keep everyone on the same page?
I always ask them what's the best way to communicate, and it's either email, text, or phone call. My personality is so happy Monday,
Yeah.
even though, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's Monday, you know? So it's like it changes the room, where it's like I'm not just your regular person that's like, hey, I'm gonna give you an update. No, I give them a little bit of personality. How was
Yes.
your weekend? I treat them like a regular human. Whereas like, let's talk about us real quick and then we get into the business. And
There.
I even do that with the title companies too. I always think about it like this. If we treat our title companies great, we're gonna be their main priority. They're gonna be like,
Yes.
I love working with you. But if we don't, they're gonna put us at the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important thing, where it's like you're building relationships with people, not just for a short time, for a long time.
Yes.
So there's times that my 9 to 5 doesn't work from 9 to 5. I'm either working till late at night, I'm trying to make sure I set up emails for the next morning. It's just, it's a revolving timeline all the time.
Yes.
I always say, I apologize for the late message, but I just want to make sure that this is what you got, moving forward. So I think that's really important. Just build relationships out of, that one on one and just connecting on a whole different level.
Yes, I love it. And it can be stressful when deals hit a snag. How do you stay calm and focused to help guide things back on track?
I have to listen to music. I feel like music really helps me, and planning out my day to succeed. It's what helps me as well.
It. And it sounds like, being a great transaction coordinator it's more than just managing paperwork. How do you see your role in supporting agents and investors so they can focus on what they do best?
Having the great systems in place, having a great communication with whoever your client is really helpful. I tailor my services to certain people. This is how I work. This is how I run. Let's jump on Zooms on Monday mornings. Let's figure out what's going to work for all of us. And even if it takes me, I don't know, maybe an hour, depending who the client is, I think that's what helps us try to stay on time and with timelines. And obviously, if you're having a team, knowing who your team is, right? Because too many cooks in the kitchen can
Yes.
hurt. Where you have too many people in place, and you're just like, what's going on? You have to take it. This is how you do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. And I'm not here to tell you how to run your business, but I want to show you how I work sufficiently and efficiently with other people.
You said one thing that sets you apart is we try to make things happen, right? And so, can you talk a bit about that proactive mindset? How does that benefit your client?
Making things happen is just, going above and beyond. Because I feel like when things come up on, let's just say, for a title commitment, or let's just say we are needing pictures or whatever the case might be, right, to go out and sell this home. I'm finding out that I need to figure out who can I hire, what can I do, how can I make this as smooth as possible, right? You have those people where it's like it's closing day and it's like, I can't close today because I'm going to, I don't know, India. Oh, don't worry. We can schedule you a raw notary. Oh, really? Yes, we can. And I think that's where it's the beauty of it. That's why I said, before, is like, no matter where you are, you can get things done. Right.
Yes.
Whereas it doesn't matter if it's in the morning, in a different time zone, in a different country, we will make sure that if it's closing day, you're closing today.
Yes.
They're counting on this deal to close, so they want to make sure that everybody gets paid, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows that wire cutoff time, and I think that's where I just like, okay, well, we're gonna try to make this happen as possible, but I need you to be like right here with me. And it's like it doesn't matter if it takes me to do it at midnight, and like I'm always trying to make sure that they're going to be able to get this done.
Yes. You shared one major lesson. Take it one step at a time, everything will fall into place. Why is this so important for investors and anyone in a complex process to remember?
I always live by that, taking one step at a time. When either you're starting on your business, you might not see the progression you would want. You are thinking, well, all these people are getting it done. Why can't I? Why can't I? And I feel like everybody has their time where their things are going to fall into place. Just breathe. It's going to come. And I remember, and this is just like from my own personal experiences with my living with someone to having kids with someone, and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going in circles. And I'm like, okay, let me breathe. Let me take it one step at a time. It's going to fall into place. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen. And I think that's one of my biggest things where it's just like when I start to feel that I cannot either get something done, I have to stop and say, maybe this is not the time for me, but it's going to happen. I'm going to put it on my list. And when it happens, I'm going to say, well, it just took me to just stop. I think about it as a kid, right? A kid, especially my toddlers, their mind is going like 100, miles per hour, and they're just like, oh my God, and I'm just like, relax, breathe, like, let's take it one step at a time. Let's
Yes.
put your shoes on first, and let's just walk out the door. So
Yes.
I think that's what has helped me, and that's just a friendly reminder to myself every single day. Just take it one
Yes.
step at a time. And if it's not for me right now, it will be for me for later.
Yes.
I'm not going to stress about it. I might not get where I want to be right now, and I might be a late bird, where it's just like everybody's growing their teams, everybody's doing this, and I'm just like, why can't I grow a team? But I had to finally realize the person that I am. I can't follow what everybody else is doing. Let
Exactly.
me just take it slow and make sure I master everything before I go out there and just be like a little firecracker.
Yeah. And so, for agents or investors listening, what's one piece of advice you'd give them to help ensure their deals go smoothly as possible, especially when working with a TC like yourself?
Learn the people you work with because, like I said, it's in order for you to succeed, in order for you to grow, you want to grow with people who are going to want to work with each other. I have told people where it's like it's really great at first, and then you start seeing who they really are, and you're just like, yes, this is not for me. Let's see how we work together, and then from there we can start because you come across people you work with and you're like, oh my god, I freaking love how you work with, but then you come across people you're like, I
Yeah.
would just work with you for one transaction, that's it, or you're like in the middle of the transaction, you're like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I feel like, what's it called, just learning from the people you work with, making sure that you're in this to grow with them, and if that's not your mindset, then go find someone who's you're willing to connect with and get to that
Yes.
level.
I love it. This has been so helpful, Caroline. If our listeners want to learn more about what you're doing or just connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can either find me on Instagram. It's at underscore Karoline Vasquez, and then Facebook. That's the main two places I'm always on. And I end up
Beautiful.
dropping my phone number to you because that's probably the best way for you to reach me is give me a call.
Yes. Caroline, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your incredible insights with us today. It's clear how much dedication and skill goes into making sure real estate deals come together successfully. Be the connection family. If Caroline's story about navigating deals and taking things one step at a time resonated with you, let us know in the comments and please share this episode with anyone in real estate who could use some inspiration and practical wisdom. Thank you again, Caroline, for your time and for being such a wonderful connection for our audience today. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Bea.
of course, all right, everyone, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't miss out and turn on those notifications. We're all about sharing these amazing stories, and we'll see you on the next one.